On Detroit Sports Nation, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Box, your favorite Monday football show. And we here at Amazing Spirits today. I'm so happy to be here. Of course, per usual, I am Eric Vincent, your co-host riding shotgun. Today, we usually have AJ Reilly here. He said he's out on a military break. It was actually storming this weekend, or actually last night. And anybody who knows AJ, he could be out doing some storm chasing, doing what he likes. So hopefully he's having a good time with that. But of course, we in good hands while he's out. My homie, a good content creator, a great content creator. Let me not undersell it. My homeboy right here, Ryan Griffin, one of the awesome co-hosts from welcome to the show, man. Happy to have you here, dude.
So is that some blue Kool-Aid?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, hey, man. Listen, I'm glad to be here.
I poured it up for you, man. Listen, for Griffin and Bass, it's for you guys. You know, I love working with you on the show, and we're going to have a good time. We got a lot to talk about. And I mean, you've been on the show before, so it's definitely a good time to personally have one of you, man.
Appreciate this is second or third time, I think, but always a good time
for sure. And it's kind of good timing because while we're here enjoying the time together on the show, we are currently playing each other in fantasy football.
Oh man!
Now I ain't gonna get no spoiler alert, but somebody got a pretty comfortable lead right now. I mean, I got two more players going. I think you got Justin Jefferson and one more guy as well. So we got a nice little back and forth going with some fantasy football action. Let the people. Do you have any faith that you may pull these dramatics and come back off anytime?
Well, yeah, I think I have Jefferson and Diggs, so I need big games from my two workhorses.
Yeah, as long as Diggs. Yeah, as long as Diggs think he got Jalen Ramsey across.
No defense.
No. Yeah, as long as Diggs think he got Jalen Ramsey across him, he might be comfortable and be able to produce. But awesome, man. Awesome to have you here. And thank you to everybody that's tuned in and locked in with us right now. Be sure to comment and talk to us and let us know how you feeling. We got a lot to get into. We're not going to waste no more time because, again, y'all saw the Kool-Aid. You know what time it is. I've been waiting to bring this thing out. I couldn't do it last week. We had the loss to the Eagles. Now we coming off a impressive Detroit Lions victory week 2 action against the Washington Commanders. Let me take my another sip. And now we can dive into it. Let's do it. Awesome week 2 victory for the Detroit Lions. 37-26. Listen, man, in the NFL, you hear this kind of saying a lot. A win is a win. Sometimes you're just happy to take it however it comes. But this week felt a little bit different to me. This one felt a little bit different from what the Lions did. This wasn't just some, fluke W that they just kind of stumbled upon. They kind of weathered the storm. They dipped through a lot, started off hot in the first half. And even with, the Commanders kind of pushing a nice comeback in the second half, they were able to settle down, make adjustments, and pull through and not squander the victory away, which is something that we've seen the Lions do for years in our fandom history. What was your take for what you saw for the week 2 W, man?
My takeaway is the Lions dominated this game from start to finish. They led wire to wire, and at the end of the game, we saw the Commanders put a little bit of a scare into the Lions with what they were able to do. Well, same thing that the Lions did last week to the Eagles, but just like the Lions against the Eagles, the Commanders never had the ball late in the game with the chance to tie or take the lead. And it was good to see because the Lions weren't playing without Vitae. They weren't playing without Jonah Jackson. They weren't playing without Frank Ragnow either. So to be able to fill the offensive line with the kind of depth that the Lions are trying to build up front and in the trenches, to be able to allow guys like Swift and Williams to get going in the running game, Amon-Ra St. Brown to get going in the running game as well with his big run there. So it was really, it was just a dominant game. It's the type of football that I know the Lions want to play. They don't want to be a team that goes out there and throws the ball 45 to 50 times. They want to control the game with the run. So from just a mood standpoint, I guess, it was a mood-setting win for the Lions, and it puts them back even up on the season where, you got to feel pretty comfortable right now.
100%. I agree with everything you just said, man. I mean, for me, when I looked at this game before everything popped off, before the injury report came out, I thought, okay, this is a game they should win kind of by the score that we saw, a double-digit victory, 2 scores. This is kind of what I expected them to do. But when the injuries came out, you already were missing your guards, and then you arguably your best player in Ragnow, who really hasn't been 100% yet at this point, he goes down, and you lose another guard on top of that. And then going into a Taylor Decker was hurt. Deandre Swift's on a pitch count. He's hurt. You lose Amari Warrior, your number 2 cornerback, who was playing very well. It was a lot of things that really presented this game as a trap game for these guys. I was so nervous that this was going to go the opposite direction from what it did. And to me, that's what makes it that much more impressive, because in the NFL, yes, again, games and victories do not have to be won perfectly. You're not going to win at all 3 phases every week. It's just not going to happen. But what I do want to be able to see is how they adjust to adversity. We saw the first half. We saw the defense roll in and keep the Commanders in check. They didn't score a single point. They were able to put hits on them. Aiden Hutchinson with 3 sacks. They were really just in control the entire first half. Then things changed a little bit. We saw them get comfortable. We saw them put up points. And normally, from what we've seen in different coaching regimes, different players on the roster, we see them kind of stick to the same philosophy and not really adjust to do what's necessary to close out a victory with this team. And we saw that happen. We saw them make the proper adjustments. They didn't get cute. They ran the football. They kept Jamal Williams active, even with Swift on a pitch count. I like them playing Reynolds as well. They provided that perfect balance that they needed to really lock this game away. And when they needed to make timely plays defensively, that's what really sold me and what we needed for sure. Like Wentz wasn't really lighting it up, but they did enough, because he tried scrambling around. He tried, dumping off to McLaurin. He tried making a lot of plays to keep the Lions on their heels. But to me, I was so impressed with how they were able to adjust throughout the game, from the first half to the second half specifically, to really put this game away. They needed it, especially after coming off a week 1 loss.
Yeah, the adjustments were impressive. And then, again, just the play of some guys that usually probably aren't expected to step up. They had the 3 offensive linemen hurt. The cornerback, Okudah played well. Again, I thought, well, Will Harris had a better game, of course, than he did in week 1. Right. And, Hutch, while they're expecting a lot of things out of him, for his second game to come out, have 3 sacks in the first half was huge. Charles Harris, I think he had a forced fumble or a sack as well that the Lions were able to scoop up. So there's a lot of really good play. Or no, the safety is what it was that Charles Harris was able to force. So it was a lot of plays from guys that you don't normally expect plays from. And then, again, they got the big plays from Swift, even though he was limited. But that goes into, again, Jamal Williams. While he's already a big part of the offense, he knew he was going to have to be a bigger part this week. Craig Reynolds, I thought that he played really well. And it's just like having that next man up mentality, which is something that every NFL team, every football team, college, professional, high school, whatever, they all talk about. But the Lions went out there and executed it on Sunday. And they got to a point where, because they had played so well before, specifically the first half of the game, that when they did start to, fall apart or stagnate or whatever in the second half, one, they were able to make enough plays to keep Washington at bay, like you mentioned. And 2, because they had built up such a lead in the first half, it didn't come back to bite them, like giving up, I don't know, they get 27 points in the second half, or 20 points, something like that in the second half, which is usually, it's usually going to come back to bite you. And that is not, obviously it's not what happened this week, since they were able to pull out the victory. But I don't know. It just kind of goes to show you that you don't need to play 60 minutes of perfect football. They played probably about 30 minutes of almost perfect football, if we're being honest, in the first half. But then in the second half, they still had just those spot big plays, or those spot chunk plays, that were able to kind of get them across the finish line, even if they were getting there with, 3 tires instead of all 4. But that's what's going to happen a lot of weeks in the NFL. These games are going to be, kind of ebbs and flows. Very rarely do you get a team that just, from the first snap, they dominate you all the way until the end. See that more in college. Doesn't really happen so much in the NFL. So for the Lions to be able to kind of withstand that punch back that Washington threw, and then still come away with the victory, is a good feeling. And now, next week they start NFC North play. They got a division rival with the Vikings, and then Seahawks after that. So looking ahead, if you can go after the first 4 games and like you're 2-2, they should probably beat the Seahawks. They'll definitely be favored against them. And no, Minnesota, I think they're already a touchdown underdog. You just go see what happens. A lot of the talk in Detroit about the Lions has just been about being on that graphic come Thanksgiving when they're showing up the playoff projections. Exactly. If the Lions can just be in there, if they can be in the hunt, they don't even have to be in the wild card. Just be there towards the end, and I think you'll make the city very happy. And 1-1 is a good start to kind of that process.
Yep, they got to start winning some meaningful games. This is the best way to do it. For me, I'm on an 8 or a 9 impressive scale for what they did. Everybody watching, I want to hear you in the comment section. Let me know how you were feeling. Tell us what you were on a 1 to 10, how impressed you were with what the Lions did this weekend. Again, I'm at an 8 or a 9 for what we've explained thus far. And for something else that you want to see from a young team that I think even in these 2 weeks, I think you're starting to see patterns of consistency. And for young teams, it's important for them to win, but it's also important to establish identities as well. You don't want to just come in swinging and throwing stuff at the wall to see what works. You want to be able to rely on certain things that are really going to put you in positions to win. And I think they're starting to get that. Regardless if it's Swift, if it's Williams, if it's Reynolds, this is taking the shape, to me, at least as a run-first football team. At least until Jameson Williams gets back. He's still healing up. And even with that, I don't want to say lack of the explosive play because we haven't really seen it from DJ Chark in big plays yet. But from what we've seen thus far, they're really establishing themselves as a comfortable and a dominant and a physical running team. And it's not just from the running backs itself. We talked about the injuries from the offensive line, but if you see how they're blocking and scheming against defenses, how they're attacking the front line, how they're attacking the linebackers in the second level, I am so impressed with what I'm seeing from Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, and Hank Fraley deserves a lot of credit too from what he's doing with this offensive line. Seeing how he's put them in positions to be successful, to really, go after and be impactful in establishing the run game. I really think that's what they're getting to. They're also establishing roles, I think, for at least some of their players in the past game. I think we're kind of getting an identity of what we already knew anyway from Jared Goff. He's not going to be a game breaker right now. I think maybe when you get J-Mo back in the lineup, we'll maybe see some of that, St. Louis Ram, Jared Goff come back where he's trying to wing it deep. But I think when you see guys like Alvarez St. Brown break out the way he is, they're using him like the Cooper Kupp of the Lions. They line him up everywhere. He's comfortable running any route. He's amazing run after the catch, and he's doing a really good job blocking as well downfield. He's very active with that. So I'm really enjoying seeing some parts of the identity of this team really starting to take shape because they're going to need that if they're going to be able to consistently win and beat the good teams that they're going to see on the schedule coming up. I think that's super important.
It is important, and it's of course going to be, I guess, most important for the Lions to keep putting points on the board because the offense is the strength of their team. They have 71 points through the first 2 weeks. 2 came on defense, I guess, because of safety. But so 69 points, nice. 69 points through the first 2 weeks of the season, and it's the most out of their 71 is tied with maybe Baltimore. Or
I think it's Kansas City they're tied with.
I think it is Kansas City. Right?
Yeah,
it's Kansas City. I know we have 4 teams that are supposed to play tonight, but
which is dumb.
Really impressive from the offense because they're not like fooling anybody. The defense is going to sit here and stop anybody. We've talked about the offense scoring. The Lions having 71 points. The defense has given up 38 and 26, 64 points so far throughout the year, which is not good, right? So the Lions are probably going to win more of these like shootout type games than they are a game like you saw with New England and Pittsburgh, where it's 17-14. I think the Lions getting that type of game, then they are in trouble. But exactly what you said, and one man I want to give a shout out to. You mentioned him is Hank Fraley. I thought he did a really good job having 3 or 4 linemen out because I don't know that Kramer played either. But having 4 linemen out, guys who are important in your rotation, and then for Lions to hold up like they did on the offensive end, and I just thought it was really impressive. by him. I know there's a lot of love for Deuce Staley because of what we saw in Hard Knocks. We saw a little bit of Reilly there but Reilly might rise to be the top assistant coach on this team at the offensive line. Continues to play like that, although I guess, Deandre Swift will have something to say about that in Deuce Staley's favor as well if he keeps playing. Because in week 1, he had, like 9.5 yards a carry. And I went on Griffin and Bass, and I was like, well, Swift is great, but that's certainly not going to happen again because that's just not what happens in the NFL. And then this week, I know only 5 carries, but, 11 yards a carry. So Deandre Swift has been amazing as well. And that is where the Lions are going to be, is going to be where their bread and butter is going to kind of that shorter intermediate pass game and running the ball because Jared Goff doesn't have a great arm and the Lions don't have, a great deep threat now. I'm really excited for Jamison Williams to get on the offense and give the Lions something that it doesn't have. But even for what that's kind of much maligned as Jared Goff has been throughout his career with the Lions, and even last week with the pick 6, if he can play a game like he did on Sunday and not have many mistakes, that's going to give the Lions an opportunity to be in a lot of these games late because they should be an offense that's going to score a lot of points. And people thought they could be like a top 10 offense coming into the year. I actually didn't. I didn't see it with Jared Goff at the helm, but if he's playing like that, then they absolutely can be, and it gives this team a whole different trajectory than what I thought they had before the season started.
Couldn't agree more, man. Shout out to Dre Johnson. Appreciate the comment, man. I saw your tweet. I saw the tweet from the Griffin Bass show during the game yesterday. And a popular conversation that's been going on, obviously, has been with Jared Goff, but a big conversation is we don't know if he's going to be the quarterback of the future. And a big projection of that conversation is the possibility of landing Lamar Jackson because of the explosive dynamic that he could bring as a dual threat quarterback. One of my biggest points in that argument is that if you were to go all in for a quarterback like him, even though the Lions are the Lions and they've had this, historic issue of losing and not having enough talent, to me, talent is not the necessary issue with this team. While you do need holes to plug in and, more talent that you can add in with this team, I don't think that's their biggest issue at the moment. If you look at how the offense is set up, they have a lot of holes and a lot of foundation pieces set. You have some set defensively as well. If Okudah keeps playing the way he's playing, I'm all in. Rodrigo looks like a phenomenal plug and find for this linebacking core because the linebacking core was supposed to be a weak point of this team. He's been showing out. I love what he's doing. And we can't say enough about Hutch. Charles Harris, a good rotational piece, and they have other pieces that you can kind of float around. You also have a Brad Holm that has shown the ability to find late round value, not just first and second round easier picks. The biggest point, again, I'm trying to make is that the Lions, I don't think, are that depleted in talent right now. I think their issue is experience. They're a young team that needs to learn how to play together, learn how to make adjustments on the fly, and be able to work through adversity in tough games against tough teams when they see it. So that's the point I'm trying to make with the Lamar Jackson. I don't think this team, roster-wise, is as weak as people are trying to make it out to be in the articles and the conversations that we posted about Lamar Jackson, about the roster. You can check our website out, DetroitSportsNation.com. Check the write-ups out. Dive into the conversation, hit us up in the comments as well. But from what you've seen in these first couple of weeks, how do you assess the roster and I guess the strong points and the weak points from what they look like as of right now?
Going back to it, the offense is certainly the strong point. The weak point on the offense would be your quarterback. And I'm a huge Lamar Jackson fan. So if he could come to the Lions, that'd be I'd be doing jumping jacks.
Let's will it in. Let's will it into existence, baby. Come on.
And so where I disagree is I do think that there's a talent deficit on defense. Now you started to try to fix it. You brought in Hutch. You hope Okudah can play like he has been playing. And even with Malcolm Rodriguez, he's been good. He's still, a 6th-round undrafted rookie. And if that guy is your best linebacker, your linebacking core probably isn't very good. And it's it's just kind of like a tale of really 2 weeks, because last week the pass rush wasn't able to do anything, and this week they were able to get to Carson Wentz. And then there was a report that came out before the game that actually kind of bothered me. I think it was Colton Pouncey, who writes for the Lions for The Athletic. But if it was one of you other guys who covers the Lions, I apologize. Essentially, it was the Lions were pumped up to face a statue like Carson Wentz as opposed to a mobile quarterback like Jalen Hurts the week before.
Right.
We're only going to see more and more mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. So I didn't like it that the Lions were like, oh, we got a shot as long as this guy can't move, because eventually that's just not going to be the case. It's the case next week with Kirk Cousins. The case, so a little bit with Geno Smith, who obviously isn't Jalen Hurts, but is more mobile than what Kirk Cousins is. So I don't know. That still kind of bugged me, and I wish that the defense had the talent to be able to stop both types of quarterbacks and all the type of quarterbacks that the Lions are going to end up seeing. I'm still not totally sold on what the secondary can do. Again, it's a defense that's given up 64 points in these first 2 weeks. So I think there is a talent deficit there. But I think with the way Brad Holmes is able to draft, not just here, but when he was in Los Angeles as well, he was able to find contributors on the defensive end, or just on the defensive side of the ball in general is probably a better way than saying on the defensive end. On the defensive side of the ball, and in those late rounds, obviously it's easy to hit on a pick like Aiden Hutchinson. It's easy to hit on Penei Sewell last year, for the offensive line. But
Right.
to get guys like Rodrigo, Aleem Jackson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, like some of these other guys that Brad Holmes has been able to find in the later rounds, it should give Lions fans confidence that that gap on defense or that talent deficit that I see, and if you don't see it, then you're already one up on the game on me, I guess. But if you're like me and you see a talent gap on defense, Brad Holmes should give you confidence that he will be able to go out there and, just kind of fill it up with pieces, right? Because you probably think you have some cornerstones on that end. Rodriguez looks like he's here to stay, even if he doesn't end up being your best linebacker for the next 5 years. He'll certainly be in the rotation. Again, Hutch should be a superstar. I mean, 3 sacks is incredible. And then, if they're able to find more guys on that defensive line, it's obviously going to help everybody else just by being able to get to the quarterback on a more consistent basis. So I'm excited for the offense, and I think the defense will get there in time. I just don't think they're there yet.
I agree. I think you kind of hit on what my focus was, because definitely in terms of what Hutch provided. I mean, from what we saw in NFL defenses, it really can sometimes take just one guy to really just flip the script with your team. We're kind of seeing that in Dallas right now with Micah Parsons. They were kind of like on an ebb and flow, up and down, bit of inconsistency. But if you have at least one game breaker that can turn things around, it makes jobs easier for your linebackers. It makes easier responsibility for your cornerbacks and safeties to play up and be aggressive with the receivers. And I think we're kind of seeing that now. I think we're seeing that with Tracy Walker. If he stops dropping interceptions, then maybe he'll become more consistent and productive. I think Owarie, even outside of week 1, I think he's been a very impressive and productive guy. And Okudah is looking like probably one of the 3 best defenders on this team. But for me, I don't think you necessarily need a perfect Legion of Boom defense in order to compete and become a contender. I think in today's NFL, where they're penalizing defenses for breathing on quarterbacks too hard, if you have enough pieces offensively where, do we think the Lions are going to score 30, 40 points every week? Of course not. It's not going to happen. But if you have the firepower to make it happen and the protection to keep your quarterback at bay and to be able to scan and make plays, I think that sets you apart from most teams in the league. So while defense, I don't know if defense wins championships is so real anymore in the NFL. I really feel like the offense is kind of what's tipping the landscape in the league now. And when you have the right pieces that complement a franchise quarterback, now again, if we don't get Lamar Jackson, it's probably not going to happen anyway. It's going to be mad expensive. It's going to take a lot of draft capital to get him. I'm just coming from the point of view and saying, I don't think the team talent-wise is as far off as people are making it out to be. If you have a few game breakers, especially on different levels of your defense in the secondary, the linebacking core, and you get a couple edge rushes off that line to plug up the hole and keep the running backs at bay and not, kill you in time of possession, I really think you have a chance better than people are giving credit for. I don't think they're that far off from really being one of those kind of teams.
So I'd still think they do because you don't need an 85 Bears defense to win a championship,
right? Of course,
but you need a defense that is better than what the Lions are putting out there every Sunday. The Rams obviously had a really good defense last year. Even when Kansas City won the Super Bowl, Tyrann Mathieu, I think they still had Justin Houston on the defense. Like they had some guys on their defense as well. Obviously, Tampa had a real good defense when they won with Tom Brady. So that defense still needs to be there, and I think the Lions are a ways off from there. Now, you could put the Lions offense on one of these teams that have a really good defense, and that could be a Super Bowl team if you switch the Lions offense and the Chargers have a good offense anyway. But if you put the Lions offense with the Chargers defense, I think that could be a Super Bowl team, or the Lions offense with the Bills defense or something. I think that could be a Super Bowl team as well. So it's just getting to that point that the defense really needs to get to, because I think the offense is set. I think they have pieces that we know are going to be here for a while. I don't know that anybody on the offensive line is moving anytime soon. No, Decker and Vitae are probably the elder members of that offensive line, but they're not super old. Sewell's going to be here a very long time. Same with Ragnow probably. I don't think the Lions will end up paying TJ Hawkinson. As much as it pains me, they might not pay Deandre Swift because he's a running back, and this is kind of the nature of the position. Right. Maybe even Amon-Ra. I don't know. But so I do think that is important if the Lions want to take advantage of some type of proverbial Super Bowl window that they have, that they do go make a giant upgrade at quarterback, right? So again, we already talked about Lamar Jackson. I think if this offense had Lamar Jackson, you would need this defense to still improve, but they wouldn't need to improve as much as they do right now with Jared Goff in order to take this team to a Super Bowl, because the Lions had Lamar, they probably would be scoring 30 points a game. In all honesty, him with that offensive line and with that running game with the receivers that he's had is already better than any offense that, any offensive talent that he's ever been paired with in Baltimore up to this point. But we see that the Lions are going to have at least linchpins that we know are going to be on this team for a long time. And then it's just popping in the ancillary pieces around them. And if they get better at a few of these key positions, then I think it's a team that is going to really be able to make some noise, and it will give people a feel for a playoff team that can win, because we have playoff teams every year that are winning 10 or 11 games and they don't feel like they can do anything. You think about Deshaun Watson on the Texans. They were in I think they won the division 3 or 4 times. You never thought they were a threat to win the Super Bowl. The last couple of years in Seattle with Russ after the Legion of Boom, after he got paid, they were still winning about 10 ball games a year getting into the playoffs, but nobody was hey, the Seahawks are about to win the Super Bowl. When the Lions went to the playoffs with Stafford, 2011, whatever it was. 14, I actually thought they had a shot when they got beat by the Cowboys, because they did have a really good defense, which just kind of goes to the point again, is I think they need to get better on the defensive side of the ball. But the offense, I think, is already there. I think it's already a Super Bowl type offense, even with Goff at quarterback.
Well, according to Jeff, Goff is the savior who's going to bring up that Super Bowl. Whatever you got in your glass, Jeff, send it my way. I love a pour, my man. Listen, while we sit up here speaking on our fantasy for Lamar Jackson, it is important to give Jared Goff some credit, because I don't even hold that interception on him that he threw against the Eagles. That was more so on the receiver that's kind of ran out of position. I think he fell, actually. It was tipped and then took back for a pick 6. So I do want to give him a lot of credit. He's been very efficient. I think he's serviceable enough for what they're trying to do right now. But again, it's just the dynamics, what we see from what could be with a dual threat quarterback compared and complemented with a guy like a Deandre Swift, where they could mix and match the run game and really attack in different kind of ways. I think that allure is very attractive, especially while the NFL is developing into a run, not want to say run first quarterback type deal, but you're seeing a lot more mobile quarterbacks really make plays and make moves in the league now. So again, we're gonna give Goff all the credit. It's gonna be very interesting to see how this develops, and I mean, I'm very intrigued to see how it goes. I really am. So again, talk to us. Let us know in the comment section how you feeling about Jared Goff, this Lions offense, the roster construction. Again, for me, I love the way that Home has been able not to just find, as you said, Hutch in the number 2 overall, but getting a Rodrigo in the 6 gives me that hope that, okay, he can go get guys late too. It's not just the early rounds that he's depending on. I think that's going to be extremely important when you're depending on your leadership. Talk to us in the comment section. Let us know how you're feeling about the Lions' chances with this roster outlook here and now. And we're going to slide away from the Lions just for a little bit, because while there's a lot of optimism in terms of what the Lions did on the professional side, East Lansing had a rough weekend.
Oh man,
MSU had a rough weekend, and you a Sparty guy too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I came on the show to get away from all that.
Hey, this is not a good week for you then, man. Sorry, dude. Listen, we got to get into it. Michigan State, Michigan hasn't really got their first crack at real competition yet. We don't need to talk about them. Michigan State suffered a pretty bad beatdown playing at Washington. 39-28 loss on the road, tanked them all the way down, I think, the 24th spot in the AP poll this week. For me, I am a open and honest casual in terms of what it is in college football. I don't have no ties with a team, so I can watch these teams objectively. So I can look at Michigan State and say, okay, that stunk. That was terrible. That's for me as an objective, just non-biased college football watcher. What were your views as a Michigan State follower and supporter, man?
So it was embarrassing because of the way that they came out. Not even so much that they lost. It was a road game on the West Coast that they were the underdog in. So if Michigan State had come out and it was a back and forth game and they lost, 38-31 and lost the lead with, 2 minutes left or something, I could live with that. It would still suck, but you wouldn't come out feeling like you just got de-pantsed on national TV, which is what happened. The team came out. They weren't ready to play at all. They were down 22-0. It made 22-8 and then gave up a touchdown right before the half to go down 29-8 going into halftime. And at that point, you could really kind of tell that it was all over, and it was a lot of unforced mistakes. So on MSU's first drive, they're moving the ball decently well. It's third and about 3. I think they go for handoff, whether it's a regular handoff or a play action. The running back goes the other way of the quarterback. So the quarterback turns around to try to hand to nobody. And then obviously he's sacked, 4th down. You got to punt it away.
Yep.
And then the next possession, they get a goal line stand. So it's still, I think, 7-0 at that point. And the Spartans are hyped. They have the ball at, like the 1-yard line, but whatever. We got the goal line stand. We still have some of this momentum. They snap the ball, and then the running back gets the ball. He slips. Now it's a safety. And from that point on, you're not able to do anything, which is a shame. So for the first 2 weeks of the season, Spartan fans were concerned about Peyton Thorne, the quarterback's level of play, because he wasn't very good. This game, I thought he was phenomenal pretty much the entire time, but there were other mistakes by other players. Certainly the defense wasn't any good. They were allowing Penix to get whatever he wanted and allowing the Washington offense just to continue to march down the field and score points. I thought Peyton Thorne played really well. I thought he played really tough, and he had a shaky stretch there for probably the end of the third quarter, the beginning of the fourth quarter, but that's when Michigan State was still down 20 or 22 points, and it's if we're trying to win this game, we have to make stuff happen now. So you're calling plays you probably wouldn't normally call. You're taking risk that you're not going to make because you need those big plays. Now they got a couple of them. They didn't get some of them. But overall, I actually thought Thorne played well, and pretty much nobody else did. Michigan State had 12 sacks coming into the game. They weren't able to get any pressure on Washington, on Michael Penix, the quarterback, which allowed time for the receivers to run away from our secondary, to run wide open. And it was just, it was embarrassing because the team didn't come out. The team came out, but they weren't ready. And the issues that we saw plague them last year in the secondary, plagued them again today, because up to this point, the defense had played pretty well. They were able to get pass rush on the two, bad teams they played, Western Michigan and Akron. And in this game, that did not happen. So then we saw the secondary get really just burnt and like cooked to a crisp in every way possible.
It was tough. When I was watching, the broadcast kept making it a point to talk about how bad the secondary was playing. They were showing replays of how they were getting cooked. And then as soon as they would come out of the replays, the very next play was a play in the past that was just as worse as the replays that they showed. It was bad. It was really tough showing. We talked about it before with me and AJ about how the balance is needed for Michigan State. And normally when they're at their best, it's when they're able to mix in the ability to pass the ball as well as build a healthy diet of running as well. But when you're down as early and as big as they were, you don't really have much of a chance to do that. I mean, Berger couldn't really get out the blocks. I think he had 23 yards to finish. And again, by that time, you needed, Thorne to throw as many times as he did. I think he had 40 attempts for the game. Very efficient. He's very accurate with his throws. He was making a lot of good plays, but it's really hard to dig out of that, especially in college football when you're down that much. Even though it was so ugly, and it is a statement game because it's on the road. It was their first real test of competition in terms of who they were playing against compared to Michigan. Again, Michigan ain't played nobody yet, so we're not really going to get into that. For Washington and Michigan State to go against Washington how they did, even though it did turn out the way they did, and please let me know if you saw this too. I saw a lot of sense of questioning Tuck, questioning the direction of this team. Was he the right guy? Did we pay him too much? I saw a lot of early leaps to some wild conclusions. Did you see this as well, or was I tripping?
No, I saw it a lot. I think it probably was mainly from Michigan fans who are, trying to get their get back from all those years of trash and Harbaugh. So it's just what it is, right? The game is the game. If Michigan had gone out and lost to Notre Dame or something, that it would have been the same, right? And Michigan State fans would have done the same thing. I saw a lot of it. I think it's too early for all of that. This team is still bad. It's still a bad secondary, and that's supposed to be Mel Tucker's specialty, but he still doesn't have all of his players in here yet. Now, he did go and get two guys from the portal who didn't play well yesterday. Ronald Williams was on the team last year, and Amir Speed is a new transfer in this year. So you can give him, you can not credit him for that, right? Or give him some criticism for that, for getting guys in the portal who didn't show up and who didn't play, because those are guys that you went and picked. But even any of the guys he recruited, they're sophomores now. So I don't know how much you can really expect them to step up and play well. So I thought a lot of that was premature, and I think it was a bad game and a referendum on the team and how it's constructed this season, but not anything that should be a concern going forward, right? Yeah, I think you have to remember this guy's in his third year. The first year kind of taken away by COVID, so he wasn't really able to do anything, and then they just kind of started the season. But even if you look at D'Antonio's second to third year, so his first year I think they went 7-6 or 6-7. His second year they surprised everybody, had a 9-win season. Michigan State's first 9-win season in years, and everybody's really hype about the program, hype about the direction. The third year they end up going 6-7. So they took a step down. Obviously, last year, Mel Tucker's second year, 11 wins. This year, it doesn't look like they're going to get to 11 wins. And they just took, a step down. And then after that third season is when D'Antonio started rolling off the 11-win years that Michigan State fans became, accustomed to for so long under him. And I think it's just still something that you need to give more time. Even as terms of the contract, it's kind of like a quarterback contract when the quarterback gets paid and everyone's like, oh my God, how can you give him that much? And then, 6 other quarterbacks get paid. And now your quarterback is making less than all of them. And that's the same thing that happened in college, right? Mel Tucker got paid, and then everybody else started to get paid after Mel Tucker did.
Yep.
So it's kind of just the cost of doing business in college football right now. So I think those were, overreactions, but I thought a lot of them, again, were just kind of trolling from Michigan fans. So I don't even know if that's necessarily an overreaction, more so than them just striking while the iron was hot and, kicking kicking Michigan State while they were down, essentially.
I gotta know though. So of course, it wouldn't be football season without some overreaction. So we saw it on Twitter. We saw it from. I saw a lot of people, people out about going crazy. It wasn't around the drink. What were your reactions? What were you doing? Were you punching the air at home? Like, what was your reaction when you saw like this kind of unfolding the way it did?
So you knew pretty early that it was going to get ugly. They had the goal line stop, and then you're like, okay, maybe we can settle down. And then they slip and get the safety. And it's like, oh, it's going to be one of those games. And then Washington scores again. And then you get down 8-22, and you're right there at halftime. You're like, all right, let's get into half, down 14. We get the ball back, score, we're down 7. It's kind of a new ball game. It hasn't been pretty, but it's salvageable. And then Washington goes right down the field and scores right before halftime to make 3 touchdown deficit instead of 2. And then at that point, you kind of knew that that the game was over, and that you had a really, really tough hill to end up climbing. There wasn't so much of a instant reaction after the game of like, oh no, how did this happen? Because you didn't lose late in the game.
Right.
It was, you kind of knew it was
you
over
sold
early.
Out early.
Yeah. So then it was just sadness watching the rest, having that little fake comeback that they had, and then tricking yourself into thinking. You start doing the math in your head, like, oh, he's a field goal here, a 2-point conversion here, and then we're only down 7. But obviously none of that ended up coming to fruition. All right, sweet. My cat knocked over my light.
No,
but it didn't come up. End up coming into fruition. So it wasn't an instant reaction. It was just kind of prolonged sadness throughout all 4 quarters.
No, I hear you, man. And hopefully they got a chance to bounce back. We see quite a bit of. Oh no, they get an easy little lollipop to kind of get back. They got Minnesota at home next week. Ricky King, Harbaugh, Solomon, Michigan. I think they got Maryland next week, so they kind of have still not really getting into the tough part of their schedule. So this is the first test for Michigan State. They do got a chance to bounce back, and we'll be right back here to check out and see what they do. So let's go back to the NFL. Let's transition back into some quick hitters, some quick little easy fire takes. It's early, of course, but we're gonna get into it now because we come in on Mondays. We don't get to see up until the injury report comes out, so we get to give our nice early pre-predictions early in the week. So let's go for week 3 of the NFL. Let's fire off the most important games, and let's just give a quick little prediction of who you think is gonna come out on top of these matchups. The first game we got next week, we got the Steelers taking on the Cleveland Browns. Who are you going to take that game?
Oh, man. The Browns just collapsed in epic fashion. I'll take the Steelers. I don't trust Mitch Trubisky, but I think he's better than Jacoby Brissett. Maybe.
Yes, like maybe. Steelers. I can't believe the Steelers blew that game against the Patriots. I thought they were going to come out on top of that, but Belichick doesn't lose 2 in a row. I'm going to go. I'll go with the Steelers too. I'll rock with the Steelers. I think they'll come out and find a way to bounce back and rebound. Potentially a shootout in this next game based on what we saw from Miami against Baltimore. So who do you have in terms of Miami versus the Buffalo Bills next week?
I think the Bills are going to win, but I think this is like the game of the week. I'm excited to see this game. I'm a fan. I'm a Lamar fan, so I wasn't a fan of what happened on Sunday with the Ravens defense just selling as hard as they did. But I think this game is a game of the week. I thought the Dolphins were going to make the playoffs, and I think they're a good team, and the Bills are obviously a very good team too.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, it's hard to pick against Buffalo, seeing how they beat up on the Rams, the former Super Bowl champs, and barring what they do now against the Titans. I believe they're playing against in the Monday night action. They look pretty talented all around. So I'm gonna go with the Buffalo Bills too. I think Josh Allen is really gonna put forth an MVP candidate type year. It's really hard to pick against them from what they're seeing this kind of momentum. So we agree on that one as well. Next game, Baltimore Ravens against the New England Patriots. Who you got?
The Ravens to be a big bounce back. I think they should be pissed and embarrassed by what happened on Sunday against the Dolphins, and Lamar's going to continue his rampage that he's on.
I'm with you. I don't buy into the Patriots at all. Shout out to Calvin. He's been in the comments. I know he's not the biggest Patriot fan either. I hate everything that they've done to set up with this season in terms of their offensive coordinator, in terms of their wide receiver core being as bad as it is. And then the defense doesn't even look the same. They lost some pieces, and I don't really think they're the same type of team. I'm gonna go with Baltimore by a couple touchdowns. I don't think it's gonna be close. I'm really low on what the Patriots are doing this season. Let's move on to the Rams and the Cardinals. A little NFC West action. Who you picking?
As much as I'll take the Rams. I still have, in my memory what they did to the Cardinals in the playoffs. And I love Kyler Murray, but I think the Rams are just a better team.
Smart pick. I don't trust anything in regards to Kyler Murray and the backyard football Arizona Cardinals for anything. I don't like what they did against the Raiders. That victory that they had was not a sign of how good the Cardinals are. That was a sign of how unprepared the Raiders were, and I was really just not impressed with what they were doing. I'm going to go with the Rams in a big blowout in that one. I don't like the Cardinals at all this season. After that, okay. We got a battle of old head quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady with Green Bay going head-to-head against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who are you going to pick?
I don't know. The Bucs just look off right now. I know they were able to come out and beat the Saints, but they don't look good. Brady looks a little more disinterested than he's looked in some of these years past. I'll take the Packers.
Okay, I'm gonna go against you on that one. I don't trust the Packers either. Like, I know they got a really good rushing attack. I think Aaron Jones is still propped up to have a pretty good year, but I don't like Aaron Rodgers in this receiving core at all. I think they're pretty good and solid on defense, but I'm gonna give Brady and the Bucs the edge just for being at home. I think maybe they'll rally with the loss of Mike Evans after standing up for his quarterback against Marshawn Lattimore. I'll go with the Buccaneers in a close one, but I hate both quarterbacks, so I don't really care about either of them. All right.
He just wanted an excuse to hit Marshawn Lattimore.
That's all he wanted. He was just, give me a reason.
He's looking for a reason.
Give me a reason. Exactly. That's all he was saying. All right, so to close it out with the quick picks, let's go with the Lions and the Vikings. NFC North rivalry game. Who do you think is going to win?
I think the Vikings are going to win. As sad as that makes me, I still need to see some type of proof that this defense can hold Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. I'm super impressed with what Jeff Okudah's doing. I'm super impressed with, even though the defense hasn't been lights out or great, I'm very impressed with how they've played thus far. The true test is going to be against a sneaky offense as good as Minnesota is. Not even just Justin Jefferson. I think Thielen still got some good ball in him. I think Dalvin Cook is still scary. I think they have the right pieces, even with Kirk Plexiglass Cousins under center. I do think they're going to win, unfortunately, which is fine. I want the Lions to go in 2-2 when they get up to Seattle. I think that's going to be the true testament for them. I think they'll probably take a loss, but it's no sweat. Just compete, do what you got to do, and I think they'll be all right. All right, so we're going to get to the last segment of Beyond the Box. Thank you, everybody that's been tuning in and rocking out with us. We appreciate all of you. Everybody in the comment section, shout out to Ricky Sanders. Calvin, I see you. Dre Johnson, I see you still hanging around with us. Jeff, I see you hanging around with us still. I appreciate you all. And Ricky with the constant comedy, do you? Oh, Ricky, you are too much, man. All right, so let's get into a little Hoo-Rah, who cares? I know you're new to the segment to the show. Do you know how Hoo-Rah, who cares goes?
No.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Okay,
all right, I'll give you a little steer with it. So, Hoo-Rah, who cares? We give a quick little segment to give credit in a Hoo-Rah way to a football topic that maybe deserves a little bit of credit. It doesn't have to be NFL. It could be someone in college. It could be a high school football topic. I propped up my old high school football team last week for getting their first high school football win, the North Farmington Raiders. Shout out to them. And then who cares for somebody we need to just stop talking about? A topic that's not important anymore, something that you're annoyed with. A quick little tee off for them to get a little slander off of them. So I got mine ready. I'll let you dive in if you want, but I'll take the reins here for now and get started with that. My Hoo-Rah has to go with somebody that we've been talking about this whole show. I gotta give it to Lamar Jackson. I have to show him some love. I wrote my article about why the Lions should target him. I made it clear it's not going to be easy to get him, but I had to hear from so many Lions. Oh, he can't throw. Oh, he buckles in the fourth. He doesn't win anything in the playoffs. His ego is bigger than his talent. All this nonsense. I don't even care about the loss and what they did against the Dolphins. He played his behind off. He was super efficient. We saw the 70-plus yard run. We saw his ability to spread the ball around and really still looked like a top 5, top 10 quarterback. Lamar Jackson, you earned all my respect for what you did, man. I love everything that you did in that high-scoring affair, and it's the good juju that we need to bring you into the Lions. So keep it going, especially if they keep losing. Who knows? Baltimore might not pay him. It's not far outside the realm of possibility. So shout out to Lamar Jackson. I got to give a quick hoorah to Lamar for sure.
Yeah. Hoo-Rah to Lamar. Ricky says, hoorah to Skipper from the Lions. I don't know that I want to co-sign some of that just yet.
Oh, yeah. We gotta wait
looking
on
for
that.
some info.
Yeah. We're gonna do some more research thanks to Eric Armstead. We don't know yet. We don't know about that.
For the Lions, though, still on the offensive line, we mentioned him earlier. I would hoorah Hank Reilly. Again, I think he did a really good job of getting this team ready for a commander pass defense or pass rush. That's still, and they don't have Chase Young, but it's still a pretty good unit. And the Lions were able to hold up in both the running and passing game, and it was good, man. It was real good with some of the guys that they were doing it with. Mentioned Skipper, practice squad guy, Stenberg, another guy, Brad Holmes. Ended up finding really late, I think a 5th round pick, but just a really bang up job, I thought, by Hank Reilly to get the offensive line ready and still compete.
Going back to the Stafford era, we're so used to seeing assistant coaches getting shipped out after 2-3 years. Seeing the continuity, consistency that we've seen from Hank Fraley as an assistant coach for the offensive line, we see from Deuce Staley and how he's helped make Deandre Swift look so productive. Aaron Glenn, I think, is awesome. Antoine Randall is awesome. I am Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator. I'm super impressed with what I've seen from the football minds next to Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell might be the rah-rah guy, but he has some smart football minds around him, and I love what they're doing. Okay, now let me get into my who cares. My who cares is a guy I've always hated, and I am not surprised by anything that I'm hearing about what he's doing or what he's being accused of. My who cares goes to the football legacy of Brett Favre. If you know me, don't ever talk to me about Brett Favre in football terms. I don't want to hear it. I'm walking away from you. I'm blocking you on social media. Do not talk to me about Brett Favre. I don't want to hear nothing else about this guy. Naturally, as a Lions fan, I didn't like him off the rip for that alone. Now, developing alone, we didn't like what he did in terms of how he got out of the Green Bay, went to the Jets, and sent D picks to his trainer while his wife was sick, on top of his constant retiring and an inability to get to training camp. Now to see who he is, stealing millions of welfare dollars to build a volleyball gym for your daughter's school. You are the absolute lowest of garbage, Brett Favre. You always have been. Thank you for confirming it one more time. Sending texts to the governor, getting assistance in making this happen. You've been garbage. I wish the Saints would have went harder on that bounty gate mode that they did to you. You've always been trash, and I'm so happy you're confirming that now. Don't ever talk to me about Brett Favre again. Get him out of here, bro.
I've always hated Brett Favre too, so co-sign all of that. My who cares, I guess, would be not quite in the same vein because he hasn't done anything except piss me off with all of his corniness. Russell Wilson, like, man, I don't care that now you're on the Broncos and you're not doing good. You guys won last week, lost to Seattle. You don't look very good. You look like you've been washed for about 3 or 4 years now. And I had to hear people talk about how the Broncos were a contender. They were going to beat the Chiefs. They were going to beat the Chargers in that division because they have Russell Wilson. Not in realizing he just went from a bad offensive line to a still bad offensive line. And I don't know, man, he's just bad. He's out there practicing high fives, doing weird little TikToks. We care a lot. Like, I don't need any of it. I just need you to win football games and none of your old teammates like you. How's that possible? These are guys you won the Super Bowl with, and every single one of them hates you. The only ones you like who like you are, DK Metcalf. We saw that last week. I think him and Tyler Lockett had a moment. Somebody else on the defense. Those are the only ones who like him, and those are none of the guys who they won the Super Bowl with. Those are all guys who, he was getting paid and they were winning 10 games, getting bounced out the playoffs, and then winning, 8, 9 games and not even getting in. So I don't care for Russell Wilson so much as a quarterback, and I'm glad he's faltering.
I was happy that he got a new opportunity because it didn't seem like they were really clicking in Seattle, and I really wanted him to get away from Pete Carroll, but I hate what the Broncos are doing right now. I watched that game that they just had, and they played. It was the Texans. They had a lead. They were up by like 6 points with like 2 minutes left. They're throwing the ball instead of killing the clock off and making them use timeouts. Nathaniel Hackett, I don't know what the hell you on, and even Russell too, bro. You not
coach.
Yeah, you're not making the right calls at the line. Like, I don't like anything that Denver's doing right now. I'm with you on that, man. I was really cheering for Russell and hoping that he was going to make something happen, but in that division and in the AFC, it don't look good for them at all. You giving the Legion of Boom a lot of ammunition to pile on the way that they are with you. It's nasty what they do in Denver. So, good pick right there. I'm with you on that one, man. But looks like it's time to pull the lights off, man. Hey, awesome time here. Always a blast here on Beyond the Box. Ryan Griffin, appreciate your time, man. Plug yourself away. Let everybody know how they can find you, watch you, what you can be in store for with you soon.
Yeah, so you guys can obviously watch me and Matt Bassett on Griffin and Bass, which comes out on Tuesdays and on Fridays. And then we have a show Twitter, which is Griffin and Bass. And then from there, you can just find my regular Twitter. It's 2_ Griff 2_. So if you don't want to do all that, just go to the show Twitter, and then obviously you'll find me there. Probably easier than remembering all that. But yeah, that's what we got going on. So subscribe to the YouTube, download, comment, like our videos, all that fun stuff.
Yes, indeed. Make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube as well. Hit us up. We closing in on 5,000 subscribers. We're getting really close to an awesome milestone. Help us make that happen. Hit us up on the YouTube channel. Follow our socials as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Make it happen. Make sure you follow it and lock it in with us. I'm about to go watch the rest of this Monday Night Football action, and I'm sure I'll be bragging to you about our fantasy football battle that we got going on right now.
I got Jalen Hurts going too. I forgot about that.
Oh, you do? That's right. Okay.
I got another chance.
Oh, I'm on your head then. All right, man. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you. We'll see you right back here again on Monday. This has been Beyond the Box right here on Detroit Sports Nation. Peace.
Okay.